You ask little Junior, do you want to take your bath before dinner or after dinner? See, it's presented like you're getting a choice. The reality is that at the end of the day, your ass was getting wet. That was the point, yep. Right? Is that you are getting in the bath. You thought you had a choice. This is exactly the same thing. It's you're getting deported regardless. You have to now choose whether you want to take your child with you or not. I'm not a parent. Can you please elaborate what the obvious decision is there?
I mean, I'm taking my child with me. I'm not leaving my child in the hands of the Trump administration.
Exactly. No. This is, of course, my governor, J.B. Pritzker, doing. I think he's talking the talk that I wish way more Democrats were doing. I mean, technically, I wish all Democrats would be talking like this, but I don't think that's realistic. So I just say I wish there were a lot more talking like this. And then, yeah, I think I have a way of, I know that his words are very triggering to MAGA, and, I don't care. I wanted to review what he said, and I wanted
to show, but Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker
offer our spin of it, if you will, which it's not going to be spun that much. I think he's right on the money with most of what he says here.
Delivered a speech last night in New Hampshire. It was quite a speech that I just think you need to hear more of, because there's not a moment in this speech where he holds back. And he makes a pretty compelling case for why calling things out directly and clearly is really the only way to go.
Let's start with something that should, be easy to say. It's wrong to snatch a person off the street and ship them to a foreign gulag with no chance to defend themselves in a court of law. Standing for the idea that the government doesn't have the right to kidnap you without due process is arguably the most effective campaign slogan in history. It's the OG of political messaging. Today it's an immigrant with a tattoo. Tomorrow it's a citizen whose Facebook post annoys Donald Trump. And there are plenty of people in this country who hold opinions that I find abhorrent, but my faith and our Constitution dictate that I fight for their freedoms as loudly as I defend my own. And as a Ukrainian-American Jew who built a Holocaust museum, whose family immigrated here as refugees from the Russian pogroms, let me say this to Donald Trump: stop tearing down the Constitution in the name of my ancestors.
I mean, for Democrats who are unsure about how to talk about Trump's lawless deportation program, that just gave you a pretty good idea. How about Elon Musk and the rest of Trump's cronies? Well, don't worry, you talked about them too. The governor had a few things to say about them.
Our small businesses don't deserve to be bankrupted by unsustainable tariffs. Our retirees don't deserve to be left destitute by a Social Security Administration decimated by Elon Musk. Our citizens don't deserve to lose health care coverage because Republicans want to hand a tax cut to billionaires. Our federal workers don't deserve to have, a 19-year-old Doge bro called Big Balls destroy their careers. Autistic kids and adults who are loving contributors to our society don't deserve to be stigmatized by a weird Nepo baby who once stashed a dead bear in the backseat of his car. Our military service members don't deserve to be told by a washed-up Fox TV commentator who drank too much and committed sexual assault before being appointed Secretary of Defense that they can't serve their country simply because they're black or gay or a woman. If it sounds like I'm becoming contemptuous of Donald,
just to add to what he was talking about with Pete Hegseth, this is just one of the biggest examples of just like silly, petty, double standards on the side of MAGA people. So he was talking about how Pete Hegseth has, I believe, a previous romantic partner, a previous wife, whatever, has been accused of assault, beating her up. It's an accusation. And yet when they discuss, so in an argument that I guess you could apply that standard to, if we're talking standards, which MAGA people don't tend to have, if you're, say, talking about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, right? If you're talking about Kilmar, who was accused at one point of basically being violent and assaulting his partner, despite the fact that apparently she has discussed that since then they were able to seek like a certain specific type of, I guess, some sort of therapy. I'm not sure. The details are not important because, again, when we're talking about Kilmar Abrego Garcia, we're not having an argument about the man himself, but we are having an argument about due fucking process. Something that, again, MAGA people have a hard time sticking to because they know they lose the argument on due process when it comes to Kilmar. So to me, in terms of like legal accountability, Pete Hegseth, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, if they've both been accused credibly by a former partner of assaulting them, why, other than the obvious reason that I know you'll happily fill in for us, CQC, why do you have a different standard for a guy like Pete Hegseth, who you not only would never say, hey, I think maybe that there should be some court proceeding on that. Maybe he should, there should be an investigation or, you know, some sort of court proceeding or maybe a civil suit, you know, where they can get all these things out in the air in discovery, blah, blah, blah. Something reasonable you would say about Pete Hegseth, like, hey, you know, Fox News host, if he's accused of this, I don't think that that's good. I don't think he should, you would say things other than, I think he should be the Secretary of Defense. The thing is that they think what Kilmar was accused of, which is generally speaking, I mean, it's apples to apples, damn near it, to what Pete Hegseth is accused of. They would rather, you know, and we know the common denominator. They want Kilmar to go to a foreign torture prison where he's not likely to survive. They say the only way out of CCOT is in a coffin. Very notorious, right? Very dubious. And then they say Pete Hegseth gets to be Secretary of Defense. It's like the standard is the double standard is astonishingly bad. You know, and what is that common denominator, CQC? That, or I guess you could say that what is the difference? Well, what is the difference that maybe explains why some people hold a different standard to Pete Hegseth than they do Kilmar?
Let me think here. They might be right in front of my face. I just can't
could
seem
be
to
under
put
your
my
nose,
finger
man.
on it.
Could be under your nose.
Maybe it's because one's got brown skin and another one has white skin. I don't know.
I would say so. Maybe okay. Military service. I don't think Kilmar was able to serve when he was a 16-year-old undocumented migrant who didn't know he was supposed to seek asylum within a certain time frame, was trying to escape a dangerous violent gang who was threatening his family in El Salvador. Yeah. Astonishing double standard. I just wanted to point it out. But Pritzker, he's going to keep cooking here.
Yeah. I mean, if you want proof that, you know, racism is still a thing, there's a recent incident where a lady called a kid an N-word at a park. Go look up that crowdfunding thing that lady has right now.
I already know. She's made over $500,000, getting close to $1 million, right?
And read the comments in that, and tell me that racism's still not a big problem in this country. Right.
Oh yeah, it's astonishingly large, and it's no surprise that people who are willing to defend that type of disgusting behavior have money.
Mm-hmm.
It is no surprise that they have the cash to throw at some horrible lady like that.
Or you have enough money that you can just throw $10K around or something like that, and be like, yeah, because there's people donating $10K.
You could throw $10K at a literal racist person.
Yeah, if you have enough money to do that, something tells me you sacrificed your morals to get that money.
Right. I mean, she's going to benefit from it, but she's in the same boat as that one girl that went on TikTok and had this video explode where she, I believe, used the N-word, right? I think it was TikTok she went viral on, but she got fired from her job. And where I believe she worked, the CEO was a black woman. fucking crazy that she would roll the dice on something so stupid. And she got fired, rightfully so. And then, yeah, what did she have to do? She basically became like, you know, like an edgelord, like knee-jerk reactionist, like podcaster. So she painted herself into a corner to basically the only brand she has is that she's a hateful, despicable piece of shit. And that's what this lady's gonna be, is just known as a despicable, hateful piece of shit after they're done letting her grift off of this.
What's funny is like that funding platform she's using is like some Christian, like,
Oh, I didn't even know that,
platform.
but that's not surprising.
Yeah. It's like some Christian platform. Like,
Huh.
again, you have, if you are a MAGA person, you have people that are crazy racist. They're hiding under the guise of Christianity. They're using Christianity as something to hide behind, and they think it's going to be okay if they act this way because, you know, God will forgive them.
Right.
Well, it's just like we gotta remember that, like, people are using, oh, God will forgive me, as a way of committing horrible, you know, acts against humanity, against people that are just trying to live their lives just like them.
Exactly. Well, right. That's the big thing, is that, you know, like people on MAGA arguments, especially, they want to get into the weeds of, like, you know, hey, if someone walks into your house and starts breaking all your, you know, your furniture, your vases and stuff, aren't you going to kick them out of your house? It's like, okay, did Kilmar do that? No, nobody knows, because he was not given due process. You know, and it goes like, you know, this recent thing that happened where, like, they're saying, like, this lady in Honduras who got deported to Honduras, who brought her child with her, who's 4 years old and was getting cancer treatment here in the United States. They're like, you know, when I say, hey, a 4-year-old child who's a citizen was with cancer was deported, they say, get your facts right, bro. It was the mom who was deported. You ever hear the fucking thing? I think it's from American Horror Story. I think it's from American Horror Story. It's probably quoted elsewhere. They probably pulled it from something else. It's not original to them, but this is where I heard it. Is that I think it, wherever I heard this, they're talking about the conversation that, you know, a parent has with a little kid. Is that, you know, the prompt typically goes as this. It's, you know, you ask little Junior, do you want to take your bath before dinner or after dinner? See, it's presented like you're getting a choice. They're presenting it like you get a choice. Do your bath before dinner or after dinner. But the reality is that at the end of the day, your ass was getting wet. That was the point, yep. Right? Is that you are getting in the bath. You thought you had a choice because you were presented that. This is exactly the same thing. It's you're getting deported regardless. You have to now choose whether you want to take your child with you or not. CQC, I'm not a parent. Can you please elaborate with the perspective of a parent? What the obvious decision is there?
I mean, I'm taking my child with me.
Right. And you're gonna figure it the fuck out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not leaving my child in the hands of the Trump administration. Fuck
exactly.
No.
I am not trying to illustrate that you know.
Nor would I do it for the Biden administration, by the way. I would not leave my child in the hand.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I think that's what we're pointing out here is that it wouldn't matter, you know, whose administration is performing the deportation. What you would hope for.
I don't care if it's fucking Santa Claus. I'm not.
Right. Well,
I'm not fucking. The child's coming with me because I don't trust any other adult to protect my child other than myself.
Right. Of course. But you know, in this situation, especially this one where this child is being treated for cancer, what would likely be, in your eyes, a just very human approach and outcome to this? You overstayed your visa. Well, at that point, you then would even if you're getting deported, let's say that it's administrative, right? It's just, well, this person did this, they showed up on this database, we got their address, we're gonna we're going to enter into a deportation proceeding. At that point, they would be able to be in court and say, look, I understand I did this. By the way, overstaying a visa is a civil infraction, MAGA. It's not a crime at all.
Yeah, it's not a criminal.
They would be in court and they would be able to be like, look, I understand that this happened, but you got to understand, I have a 4-year-old child battling cancer. This is what's going on. And then that judge, if they are a human fucking being and not a ghoul, they're going to go, okay, I think we should, grant you a protection status, a protection from deportation on account of your child's condition. And you know what? It's a horrible thing to think about, but I think it is more fair to let them stay in the United States where that child has their medication, has their doctor, is getting their treatment, even if even if they deport the parent after the child passes away. I still think that's cruel as shit, and I don't think that should be allowed, but I think that is so much better than just, you're going, you got to choose whether or not you take your kid. That is just, I can't think of anything more inhumane. And that's why anytime these dipshits that come into my comments and would say, get your facts right, the mother got deported and took the child with her, this is why nobody takes you liberals seriously because you just lie about shit. It's like, my dude, you're failing to understand the very core of my argument. You are failing to understand that I think it is cruel and inhumane and un-American as hell.
Because they see it as a victory.
Situation, to force
they see it as a victory. They don't look at the humanity of it. They just think it's a fucking victory lap that they get to run.
Why would
That's
they
all
care
they care about?
Why would they care about brown people from Honduras? Is long
exactly
story, is essentially the short. I know all this.
Why should I care about them?
I know this.
That's
dude.
what they think.
I'm just going through the. I'm going through the sort of the logic pattern of it. What? Why?
I'm saying, well, like, to go along with what you're saying here, I'm just saying this is exactly their line of thinking.
Yeah.
And that's why when people watch this video, they're like, oh yeah, he's right. That is the way they think. And maybe fucking MAGA will hear what I'm saying as you're explaining your point. That, oh damn, I do think that way. Maybe I am a piece of shit. Maybe I don't self-reflect like a good adult.
I would rather they own it. I would rather they own it. It's like, okay, if I can't change your mind, that's one thing. But can you just admit that you just don't want like brown people here who might not speak English? Like, just admit it. Just admit it.
Yeah,
be honest about
it. And that if they own it, that probably tells me that they are capable of self-reflection. They just don't care at that point.
Exactly. Right. It's at least we're all much more crystal clear on where everybody stands. And then you'll understand if this person, like, that's when you can look at other I'm not, nobody specific here, but that's where you can like examine their personal life and be like, well, that makes sense. That's why you don't like, have anybody that you hang out with or talk to on a regular basis. You alienate people with your hateful, just rhetoric that you're obsessed with, right? Because that's one of the weird things about a lot of MAGA folks is that they just seem obsessed to a very unhealthy degree. It's just very sad to see in some cases.
Yeah. I mean, I don't get the obsession. It's not bothering your life at all. So why be obsessed with some brown people being here for probably good reasons and are paying taxes just like the rest of us, right, and commit
you liberals
far
just
less
want
crime.
them here. You liberals just want them here so that they can vote. Well, I mean, I want people who I want.
Whatever.
Well, no, that's the thing though, is that there are provisional like undocumented like ballots that you can apparently issue for certain types of elections. Let me look this up.
Yeah, isn't it just for like local elections
and not
federal
citizens vote? Let me add that. Federal elections. Let's say .gov. National Immigration Forum. Why not? Yeah. So they announced in April that House Republicans would introduce a bill to ban non-citizens from voting in federal elections. The truth, however, is that non-citizens have been barred from voting in federal elections since 1924. In addition, in 1996, Congress made non-citizen voting in federal elections a crime punishable by fines and imprisonment. So you're correct. I think when I Googled this, I must have not included the caveat of federal elections. So that's why I wasn't sure. So yeah, they probably like local stuff, maybe in sanctuary cities, they're allowed to vote. It's hard to say.
Very niche.
It's hard to say what the carve outs are, but yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, voting at the federal level is reserved for. I think I remember this bill because I remember people talking about how pointless this would be. This is already the way the law works, which is silly as shit since 1924.
It's because they have to make this make-believe boogeyman nonsense.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
They have to keep the make-believe boogeyman nonsense going for as long as they possibly can.
Plus, I don't think that changes what my argument would be even when it's a person who's MAGA says that, so now I can literally add the caveat. Well, they can't vote in federal elections for one, legally speaking. Two, what aren't you a big fan? I would just ask them, aren't you a big fan of how this country was founded, right? You're a big fan of 1776 and the Declaration of Independence. You're a big fan of that, right? I remember you guys, yeehawing about it on Jan 6th. And if they say, I mean, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't I like the way our country was founded? Blah, blah, blah. I'd be like, okay, well then what was the whole crux of that? What was the big phrase? Man, there was a phrase. I remember all my school teachers. Oh, that's right. No taxation without representation. So when immigrants pay taxes, which they do, I want them to have representation because I believe in that shit. I believe that if you pay into a system that is governed by, people that are elected and they are allocating your tax dollars as a non-citizen, then they are allocating your tax dollars to whatever else. I think that technically, I think that they should be able to vote in federal elections. They pay federal income tax. They should get federal representation. End of. Period. End of. But yeah, I mean, you just debunked it for me. So that was, if I remember correctly, one of the comments I got about this specifically is they said, oh, you guys just want them here so that, you can make sure you win the next, like in the midterms or whatever. So it doesn't matter. Even if they deport 7 million non-citizens over the next few years, I mean, they're not deporting anybody who can vote in the next federal election. So I think they're cooked in the midterms, TBH.
Yeah. By the way, Trump has deported less people per month than Biden did still.
That's what I've heard. I assume that they're classifying. Part of that is that ever since Obama, the Department of Homeland Security has classed what do they call it? Removal is a deportation. They've apparently, since Obama, they've been classifying border encounters where the person is turned away at the border. I don't remember how they classify it. They've been classifying those as deportations, though. Did you know that? So now
I'm still gonna rub it in their face. They're petty. I'm gonna be petty.
Well, no, I agree with you. But what I'm saying is that you got to consider that if those are being counted as deportations, 95%, we're at a 95% reduction in border encounters, which is what I've heard. I've heard that is apparently accurate. And Trump wants to take credit for it. But the problem is that border encounters have been dropping since like mid 2024. They were dropping under Biden at the end of Biden's term. So, yeah, I don't know. I couldn't say that I understand the issue well enough to know what the reasoning is for that. But border encounters haven't necessarily dropped to this low solely because of Trump. I'm sure he had an effect because, I mean, shit, he's kicking people out who had protection status. Like, you can't even claim asylum and have a guarantee anymore, right? Under Trump.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's something to do. I remember reading something. There's people giving Harris credit for her during when she was vice president, going to those Latin American countries, and that
Oh yeah,
helped
saying do not
contribute.
come. Yeah, do not come. Yeah.
That helped
She literally,
contribute
yeah.
to the reduction in um, the border crossings by mid 2024.
And another point I'll add to that is that yes, while I completely agree, and we'll continue this video in just a sec, we're finally almost done with this tangent. One thing I'll add to that is that fuck. Dude, I can't do these streams like fully sober, so like I lose stuff immediately when I think of it. It was something about Biden. Oh yeah. Okay, sorry, I got it again. So one of the reasons that the asylum system is so backed up right now is because it takes a long time to get in front of a judge, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And there was a little funny thing that happened towards the end of 2024 that would have resolved that. I agree completely that Biden responded to the border issue way too late in his presidency. He should have should have absolutely they should have worked on a solution earlier. They should have worked with Congress on a solution earlier. But we had towards the end of 2024, I want to say September, maybe August, something like that. We had a bipartisan border bill ready that was helped crafted by Democrats and Republicans in the House. And it had support. It had broad support on both sides, not universal, because you have like the weirdos like the Freedom Caucus and whatnot, who don't like spending any money on the government. And even the border union supported the bipartisan border bill, but it got shot down because the petulant child that is the leader of the Republican Party, aka Donald Trump, killed the border bill, told all the Republicans in the House that we will primary you if you sign this, because he didn't want to give the Biden administration a legislative victory, because he's not really a patriotic American. He's a selfish, nationalistic dictator scumbag. And when you're a selfish, nationalistic dictator scumbag, you don't want your opposition to do something good, even if you yourself agree it's good.
Right.
So the border bill would have absolutely helped with this. And if Republicans gave a shit about the issue rather than their electability, we would have had that. It's so silly. It's so silly to claim otherwise. So
they're about to pay their political the political price.
I think they are. I think 2026 is going to be, it could be a bigger bloodbath than 2018. For the Republicans. If it is, MAGA is toast. I don't think MAGA survives again, because it will have been they will have proven twice in a row that all they can do is get elected for a single term and then not carry out on any promises, not get anything done that they want to get done, to be totally ineffective at keeping swing voters and normal people in their movement.
The only thing this proves about MAGA is that they're able to play the culture wars bullshit card like really well and win elections off that. That's all it proves, and that they are ineffective with the economy and at governing and at diplomatic relations.
2016 was a fluke because you had the sort of simultaneous where you had negative turnout where people just didn't like Hillary, and then people on the Democratic side not feeling super hot for like Hillary. So and then, of course, in 2020, you had an enormous switch of that where Biden received 81 million votes in the popular vote.
Yeah.
A huge rebuke of the Trump administration. And then you have a similar thing to what happened, another fluke like in 2016, except this fluke turned out to be young men who were being manipulated by right-wing media, and the combination of people not feeling so great about the Democrats and not really turning out for the Democrats because of things like inflation and whatnot. They were like, I don't think I can really defend the economic situation that came from the Biden administration, so I don't see how I could vote for Kamala in 2024. I think that's some of the sentiment that you had. So again, you had a little bit of extra, a little tiny bit of extra right-wing and Trump turnout with a little bit of a diminished Democratic turnout. It was a very similar situation to 2016. The only difference being is that they won the popular vote in 2024 leading them to claim in stupid, insane shit like that they have a mandate, which of course they don't have. So,
Yeah.
All right, back to Governor
They don't know what
Pritzker
mandate
here.
is.
Exactly. They don't understand that they don't understand rather the argument that if Trump has a mandate now, then Biden had a super mandate in 2020.
Yeah.
Gay or a woman. If it sounds like I'm becoming contemptuous of Donald Trump and the people that he has elevated, it's because I am. You should be too.
Yes.
They're an affront to every value this country was founded upon.
They're an affront to everything this country was founded upon.
Every
That is
value,
definitely
but
not
okay.
holding back. And then Governor Pritzker ended his remarks with a very stark and very direct call to action. Listen to this.
When we emerge from this, and we will emerge from this, our democratic agenda must be bold and our ideas fearless. We must be willing to slay sacred cows and allow the courage of our actions to match the immediacy of our words. And we must deliver on that agenda for working families and for the real people who truly make America great. Listen, I understand the tendency to give in to despair right now, but despair is an indulgence that we cannot afford in the times upon which history turns. Never before in my life have I called for mass protests, for mobilization, for disruption, but I am now. These Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. They have to understand that we will fight their cruelty with every megaphone and microphone that we have. We must castigate them on the soapbox and then punish them at the ballot box.
These Republicans can.
I love Jen Psaki, but I really just wanted to hear that last bit from Pritzker. I know that there's
like
some
that.
MAGA. I love it too. There's some MAGA people who are real upset. Stephen Miller was asked about it, and you could tell he couldn't like make too much of threatening language because I mean shit. Like Pritzker is, even if he wanted to go out of his own pocket, I mean the dude's a billionaire. He could go out of his own pocket to pay for some legal counsel to take Stephen Miller directly, or what does Stephen Miller do in the Trump administration right now? Is he deputy chief of staff? That's right. Susie Wiles is the chief of staff. You know, the White House themselves, I guess, could potentially be taken to court over a direct threat from Stephen Miller. But you could tell Miller was his head was doing its weird movement stuff where he was like really moving his jaw around. You could tell he was agitated as hell at what Pritzker said. Saying that the Republicans should not have a moment of peace is not a violent threat. It is not telling people to go out and set fire to Tesla owners' vehicles or to Tesla dealerships. It is none of these
Tell them
things.
to be loud. Be loud.
Yes, and anybody who does that shit, anybody who engages in literal domestic terrorism against whether it be Teslas or any sort of government property or whatever, they need to be tried and locked up for every crime that they commit in the course of that. I think it's important that we on the left be abundantly clear because they are we are not them, and without question they are going they because they have no choice, because again they can't win the argument, they can't win on the arguments that we have on merit alone. They have no choice but to frame us in a negative light when we push back against the harmful agenda of the harmful goals and the harmful agenda of this administration. They have to cast us in the worst light possible. They have to cast us as violent extremists because otherwise nobody's going to believe them. So we must counter that by reiterating how peaceful it needs to be, but how loud and how vocal we need to be and how disruptive we need to be, because being disruptive can just mean standing outside while they're trying to quietly do work and just screaming our heads off, to just make it as annoying as possible. I don't care. Just this, we can't just let this country walk blindly into authoritarianism. And I think more people need to be talking like Pritzker. More people need to be saying that type of thing. We need to be elevating our language without reaching the point of violence. You know,
Pritzker, that was a perfect example on how Democrats, how Democrats can voice, Democrat politicians can use their voice. That is exactly how you do it.
Yep.
Him and Buttigieg have probably been on a tear lately.
Yeah, they've really been good, and I think Buttigieg. I mean, dude, I think he's gearing up. I think he's gearing up to be a very popular 2028 candidate. I see him, if he doesn't win the nomination in 2028, I see him winning numerous states in the primary. I see him winning like Michigan. I see him winning like the Indiana primary, because that's where he.
I mean, who's going to compete with him, really?
I mean, it sounds like Kamala might be going for California governor. So if she doesn't go for governor, you know, probably Kamala again, who I think would again be winning multiple states, if not the nomination. Because I don't, you know, as long as we pick a good, I think, fighter in 2028, someone who's very vocal about, I will make sure that we, you know, keep the MAGA agenda from tearing apart this country any further, and I will make sure that we, you know, undo all this horrible shit, because we need to remember that we're able to be all offense right now. The Republicans are the one in power. They're going to be on defense because they have to defend their record, and all we have to do is attack. And I don't see them being able to talk their way out of all the bullshit that's happened already. If these things continue, and it looks like they're going to continue, if unlawful deportations continue, you know, they're going to start losing on the immigration and the border issue because of that. If the tariffs continue, they're going to start to lose on the economy.